while we've been here over 100 years, while we do a lot of amazing things, while we have a lot of trust, we're not perfect. We're not a perfect organization. No organization is perfect. But it's that desire to continue to get better. And so people know they can trust in all parts of our organization in so many ways, and we can do better.
Good morning. So we're here with Aidan DeLaO. He is the Chief Early Childhood and Advocacy Officer here at United Way for the greater Austin area. And also, I'll tell a little story about you. Some of my favorite people are the kinds of people who know how to share credit. I think you can see a great leader because all of the things that go wrong, that's usually their fault, at least in their own words. And every time organizationally things go well, it's always to the credit of the rest of their team. And when I was speaking to Aidan the first time, he had these super candid responses about what made the people around him at this wonderful organization, United Way, so great. And that's just one of many reasons why I'm excited to speak to you today. He's had his hand, if I just read some of the organizations you've been a part of in recent history, Central Texas Food Bank, Foundation Communities, and then of course United Way. You're a part of all of these incredible groups doing amazing things. But of course now, time to talk about United Way. So United Way is one of the most recognized names in philanthropy. But, across regions, the organization does different things. What does United Way for Greater Austin do?
Well, United Way for Greater Austin does so many things, right. And we are a grant maker. That's one of the things that I get to support at United Way. Historically, that's what United Ways across the country do, is provide grants to organizations doing really great work in their communities. We do that. We give out about $2 million a year to nonprofit partners that are doing some really amazing things. And that's one side of what we do. We also have the ability to bring together hundreds of partners, policymakers, business leaders, volunteers, advocates, to look at some of our biggest systems challenges and really make a difference in the system that we're operating under, that families are having to operate under. And so we operate coalitions. We serve as the kind of the anchor and the backbone of what those coalitions do. Two of which, Success by Six Coalition in Travis County and one in Williamson County. We have the Two Generation for Economic Advancement Coalition here in Austin. We are working to bring all those people together because we know that early education is important. We know that economic advancement is important. We know that health and our supports for families are important. And so we can really bring together all sorts of folks to make systems change happen. In addition to that, we operate a whole lot of programs, whether it's in early childhood, whether it's in basic needs, our 211 call center, navigation center. We're about to start a pilot this month for families that are navigating challenges when they're entering the workforce so they can grow their income. And so we operate all of these programs to strengthen the way that families are navigating Central Texas. In addition to that, we also have access to a whole lot of data, community needs data, community program data, intervention data, all of the ways that our community needs to interact and make decisions. United Way has a wealth of data available that we're really taking to the next level. Our team in our data and evaluation department, led by Dr. Allison Bentley, really thinking about how we can get that data out to our community so that we can move the needle by making data-informed decisions. And so we're really excited about that work. And then the other piece of work that I get to support is advocacy. We know that systems change involves policy that will really be responsive to what the needs are of our community. And so we want to harness the power of advocates who are saying, hey, we could make a difference here. How can we move this system? How can we change how families are interacting in this way? How can we draw more dollars to the needs that families have in our community? Right. And so United Way kind of feels that need as well and supports getting advocates together to make systems change happen.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is true in both business and in any other walk of life is that it's surprisingly difficult to figure out what problems actually need to be solved. Like you have to spend a lot of time listening to people and thinking about them to actually figure out how you can help. Yeah. It's not as simple as just showing up. Lord knows I've tried. You have to spend a lot of time researching those sorts of things. And for me, one of the things I'm hearing is that one of United Way's central value adds is you're communicating to key decision makers what those needs are because you guys have your ear to the ground. Is that like a succinct understanding of what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd take it a step further and say we as an organization invest in listening to families themselves to say, these are the challenges that I'm experiencing. These are solutions that I think are really important. Can we work on that together?
Yeah.
So while we talk with policymakers about what the needs are, to your point, we actually bring the voices of those families that are navigating the system and say, this is kind of how we would be better. This is the ways that we can start making steps to improve the lives of families navigating these systems. And so as an organization, we have invested a lot of time and resources to make sure that we are listening to those folks. Because they're part of our community. We're all part of this community. And so if we can bring that lens when we're in these conversations about policy, or better yet, bring them to the table and help explain with them what the challenges are and how we can make things better, then I think we're much better as a community to do that work.
Right. And I think this question is kind of a tie-in. And obviously I've gotten to do some work with you in the Community Voice program, which I thought was just the coolest thing. But how do you build programs with people as opposed to building them for people?
I mean, it takes listening for one, right? The ability to just have time and energy and work with them when meeting them where they are to understand what the needs are, right? Or how they see things differently, or could be done differently. And so it really does take a step back approach and saying, let me listen to this. Let me think about ways that we could bring those ideas to life with them, because we are building with the community. And when we think about the community, we want to broaden that tent, right? We want policymakers, business leaders, families, nonprofit organizations, all of those people kind of working together. And that's what's beautiful about community work is you're bringing all those people together, and it has to be facilitated. And that's one of United Way's kind of jams is we can convene and facilitate conversations. 100%. And it might not be that they have to be all in the same room at the same time. It's maybe we're getting some focus group action happening here. Maybe we're getting a survey here. Maybe we're doing some sense making after that focus group. But then we're bringing that information in. Then we're kind of playing around with what could these solutions look like, and we're bringing it back to those groups so that they can help say, yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, or no, this is not what we were imagining. This is still not going to work. Yeah. And so then we are just refining, and then bringing those decision makers to say, this is what we know the community needs, and they've designed this. How can we make this happen?
Right. Well, a couple of things. One of my favorite pieces of scripture from long ago is that something along the lines of there's a special place in heaven for the people who bring other people together. And I think that's true. There's something super rewarding about when you see conversations and connections happening as a result of you facilitating an event or whatever. That could be as simple as having a barbecue in your backyard and your two mates are hanging out or whatever. But in a broader sense, when you're facilitating some of those extremely pivotal conversations you're talking about in that regard, I feel like that holds true for me. I was like, there's a special place in heaven for the folks who can make those connections and those relationships happen, because it's surprisingly difficult, especially as we get older and we get absorbed into whatever's going on. It is remarkably easy to just to stay in the same headspace over and over again, to not hear outside perspectives. And I think that's something we have observed in our systems nationally, is there's not a lot of people talking to each other, right? It's really important we have people talking to each other at all levels. And then I think you could observe it in all contexts, right? Anytime I'm really mad at somebody, oftentimes it's because I haven't stopped to think about why they were doing what they're doing. Because very seldom do people actually do stuff for no reason or just to be antagonistic. It's like more like, so for some reason, people didn't understand. One other thing I really appreciate about what you're saying right there is I feel this real sense of every move that the organization is making is super well thought out. It's like you're using data and proof to solidify your points. And this was kind of one of the things I've studied is how do we change behavior, right? How do we get people to do new stuff? Fundamentally, that's oftentimes really important in any walk of life. And what was remarkable to me is I realized that there are a lot of people out there who give you great advice. They'll tell you exactly what you need to do. But, we don't listen. You can watch 1,000 YouTube videos on how to do any number of things. And then I look at the times where I really have listened to great advice, and the question is, what was different? And the thing that was different was not the advice itself. The advice remained the same, but it was who was saying it that changed. And I knew the person who was saying it had proof that they had already done the things that they were talking about, or they had conversations which led, which supported that claim. So if I'm a decision maker and United Way comes to me and says, "Hey, we have this, we found out that this is true because of X, Y, Z point, and we could talk to this family member and this stakeholder," I'm going to be a lot more likely to change my position or to take action on something because there's so much proof involved, And there are other people, I'm sure, saying to do the same great initiatives, but there's something really powerful about you guys collecting the evidence in that regard to display it into a case. And I think that's really at the core of changing people's hearts and minds. Does that make any sense?
I think that's the goal, right? I mean, and there's a lot of organizations that do this. United
Right.
Way is not the only player that can do this work. We're building off a 100-year history, right?
Right.
We celebrated our centennial in 2024.
Yay.
An organization that has that kind of staying power and the ability is one that's trusted, I think, one that really does bring people together, calling people in, and really thinking about what are the hard decisions that we need to make together. And so if you can do that with data, you can do that with storytelling, you can do that with just clear facts about what needs to be different.
Right.
But there's still a nuance to how you have to navigate that, right? You can't just, as you were saying, just tell people this is what needs to happen and just do it,
Exactly.
right? And so I feel really lucky that I get to support our coalitions here at United Way, because I see from my team, I have really great coalition leaders who have helped me learn how to be a better facilitator, help me navigate stories and decision making so much better. And so I think we just build on that. Our CEO, Ingrid Taylor, is a phenomenal facilitator. She can bring community together very effectively. And so I think there's just a lot of examples of people that can elicit that from the community and then deliver something out, because it's not just about, let's bring people together and talk.
Right.
It's let's actually make a difference. Let's create some solutions together, because that's where the real power is. It's not just to gather in community. Not to say that that's not powerful in of itself, because especially coming out of COVID, I think people are hungry for that human to human in-person interactions, that ability to communicate together in a room and hash out things and come up with solutions.
Yeah.
But you also just have to start delivering as well. And that's one of the things that I'm most proud of at United Way, is being able to deliver on the promises that our community has asked for, that it helped create. And we don't want the sole credit in that, even though we play a huge role in that. But it's really community benefits that have happened. It's community working together to make these things occur. And United Way has played a very important role of bringing those voices together.
This is, I think, a tough question, and I'm not sure if there's a simple way to answer it. But what do you think some of the differences are between people who are, there are a lot of people who are able to think up great plans, great things to do, or talk a lot about, hey, we should try this, we should try this. What are the differences between groups that are talking and that are taking action? Are there any details that you're like, here's where I've found that people really start taking action?
Well, this is one thing that I've learned over the course of my career. I mean, I can come up with ideas a mile a minute, right? They're not always good ideas. But what I've done is I work with a team of people that when I have an idea or somebody has an idea, we can start vetting it, right? And then determining, well, this path would work or this path wouldn't work, or here's some pitfalls that we would have to navigate. This is much easier if we go this route. So the ability to not only have ideas, but bring people to the table that have more experience, more knowledge, subject matter expertise, just the gumption to kind of make things happen in a way that I wouldn't be able to necessarily. But you're bringing all those people together so that you can achieve something. And I think that's where the difference lies for an organization that might not be able to move something forward, is maybe they don't have the right people at the table, or maybe they just haven't unlocked the potential that we need. This one person's missing and they could offer a key to unlock what we're trying to do. And so if we as United Way can bring those people together, I think that's one of our superpowers, is let's unlock that potential so that we're actually measuring some growth or opportunities or improvement. And we see that time and time again. The Success by Six Coalition in Austin Travis County, we've been serving as backbone for 1.5 decades. And the group that has really started that has been working on this for almost 20 years now, to really advance early childhood supports and making sure that children are getting ready for kindergarten on time. And so it takes that building and building and building, but people saying, we're going to make an incremental change here. We're going to put this together and make this happen.
Right.
And it might not be perfect, because I think one of the biggest challenges that people have that can't move something is like, it has to be perfect. I have to get all of this data. I have to get this laid out. I have to have this plan in place. Start doing something and then start tweaking on that. It's iterative, right? What we did 10 years ago is not the same thing we're doing today.
Right.
And so just know, like, you can make a mistake, you can move things forward, you can try a different way, and it's okay. Like, that's how you start building difference. And so it's building and building and building versus everything's perfect and then it's just never going to happen.
How do you build a culture in your team where people feel comfortable being aggressive and taking risks and ultimately making mistakes?
One thing that I have learned is just knowing, like, I can't, if something happens, if there's a mistake or somebody needs something, I can't get upset, right? I have to keep my calm and collection. I hope my team, if they're watching this, would say that I do this on a daily basis, but who knows? But I think it's really about them being able to comfortably tell you, like, hey, I think we need to do this differently. I think this is a problem that we need to move. Or better yet, hey, Aaron, you showed up like this way in this meeting, and I think we should have a different approach. I want my team to push on me, and I want to push on them so that we're constantly getting better together. And that's one thing that I've learned. I've had periods in my career where my boss didn't seem to trust me, or I didn't seem to trust them. And there was just challenges in what I thought I could do, right? And so if I can be different, and I'm not perfect by any means, but if I can have those conversations with my team and say, was this okay? What are you trying to move forward? What do you see my role in that? Because the other thing is, I don't want to get in somebody's way.
No.
I don't need the credit, because ultimately, if we're doing more, that means our community is getting the benefits. And so I don't want to be the hindrance, but I want to be a support. And so one of the things that I always talk about is, like, what do you need for me to do? How can I help unlock something that you haven't been able to unlock? Do you need guidance from me? Because I can give unsolicited advice all day long. Nobody wants to hear it. But if they come to me asking for advice, then I'm more than happy to provide that. Now, again, I'm not perfect. It's a constant struggle for myself, because I have my own insecurities, my own needs to do what I want to do. But I try and reflect a little bit whenever I'm talking with my team about how do we move this work forward, and giving that, it's really vulnerable, but it's also very powerful to give them the empowerment to do something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in order to create the dynamic you're talking about, where your teammates are comfortable criticizing or asking for feedback or being candid with things that didn't go as they wanted to, and really reflective, you have to have built super strong trust. Right. Like you said, you have to trust each other. I mean, it's the same thing true with any relationship, like with your partner, right? You need to trust each other, otherwise it's not going to work. And so kind of extrapolating from that, how have you also built trust within the community? Because you have an internal trust that you have to build with your team, but also at the same time, the city knows your logo. They know your brand. They know all about you guys. Why do they trust you so much?
I think United Way for Greater Austin has been able to achieve a lot with the community. And that means something to a lot of people. They've been able to benefit from services that either we're providing or that we've had a hand in creating in our community. But trust is very fragile. And we don't get it right all the time.
Sure.
It's a constant exercise or muscle that we're trying to build to be able to reach new people in our community that might not be interacting with us yet, or they might have had an experience in the past that they weren't sure of, or they don't even know about United Way for Greater Austin yet. And so our goal is to really continue to deepen the trust we have with those that are already working with us, right? We don't want to ever jeopardize that or take that for granted, that the trust that we built in the community exists. And there's new people that we can continue to build trust with, and it takes working alongside them, listening to them, co-creating with them to really have them understand and feel like, oh, I can put my value and trust in United Way for Greater Austin. And it's something we're working at, right? While we've been here over 100 years, while we do a lot of amazing things, while we have a lot of trust, we're not perfect. We're not a perfect organization. No organization is perfect. But it's that desire to continue to get better that I know our team operates, my team has, my colleague Amy Price has, and her team. I mean, talk about people who have built trust with our 211 and Navigation Center, working with partners, working with families that they know they can come to us, get a trusted resource, get follow-up. I mean, those things don't just happen in our community. And so people know they can trust in all parts of our organization in so many ways, and we can do better.
Well, pivoting a little bit, it's funny because with an organization with as illustrious of a 100-year history is a long dang time. So you're like, in any individual one of those years, you can go out and you could see a bunch of miracles that you guys have worked on, or really powerful things. But zooming in on just 1 year, talking about last year, 2025, what was one initiative that you were super proud of that you and your team came forward with?
One thing that we really worked on a lot and kind of redeveloped, and this was one of my leaders, Becca Bice. She's the Senior Director of Economic Advancement here. She has kind of reimagined with our 2Gen Coalition for Economic Advancement the work that we need to do to support families.
Okay.
And we started building on redeveloping that program so that we could bring our community together around folks that are needing to navigate getting a new job, people that are what we call the ALICE population. So that's asset limited, asset limited, income constrained, employed. So these are people that we see every day: teachers, medical assistants, nurses, often firefighters, that are the backbone of our society, doing a lot of amazing work, and they're still struggling to achieve some sort of not just a surviving budget, but a thriving budget.
Right.
And systems are stacked against them. They're working really hard. They are doing good for the community, and they're just not at a level of income, especially when affordability is so high here in Austin area, to really start that thriving kind of opportunity. And so Becca and our data and evaluation team, as I mentioned, Dr. Allison Bentley, our navigation team, and Amy Price and Jessica Vinson, we've all kind of thought through, how do we really help support families that are navigating that income, and how do we get more families to achieve that income that we're hoping that they can achieve. One of our North Star goals is that 70% of families are able to earn that family sustaining income in our community. That's about 3 percentage points higher than what it currently is, 67%. And that accounts for, tens of thousands of people that we hope to achieve by 2030 are able to increase their income.
Right.
We're doing that through a program that's about a pilot. So we started all this work designing, working with the community, understanding what that program design could look like. And it's launching this month. It's called the STEP program. And it's really to help people that are in an income or in a new income through a new job, and they just need that support because what happens a lot of times, families might have public benefits that they're getting, whether that's food support, housing support, childcare support, health insurance. When they get an income level that's a little bit higher,
Oh my God, yeah.
they drop their benefits. It's called the benefits cliff. And so then it's hard for them to really be able to navigate that first 90 days or even 6 months of employment in that new job because they might not have a cushion of money to help cover all of the increased costs that they're going to have to survive.
Right.
And so we're working in this program with 2 employers here in the Austin area to help wrap around those people and support after they get that new job. How can we help them because they're losing all those benefits, but we really want them to be productive. We really want them working. And so how do we keep them able to continue that role? So it's been a lot of fun seeing that work happen and cross departmental, right? It's not just my program working on this. It's a lot of other folks that are really enthusiastic about supporting families during that period. So I'm really proud of that work. Not to say that our early childhood work and creating a whole new system called the Early Learning Advancement Collective, which is huge in helping us achieve another North Star goal. Those are things that I've personally been a part of that I am just so really excited and proud about.
What's one thing that you desperately wish more people knew about United Way?
About United Way. I think it's easy for people to think United Way is this big global nonprofit, right?
Right.
But we're really not. We are. We're a part of,
Right.
We're an affiliate of United Way Worldwide, but we're local.
Right.
We live here. Our dollars are raised here, and we put those dollars back into our own community locally. It's not all going up to worldwide and being used for big national things. We really are a local based organization. And so I think people might have this perception that United Way operates in a different way because we are, have this big arm, but we're our own 501c3, we're our own organization, we have our own board, and we make decisions to affect change here locally, not necessarily nationally. Not to say we don't want to help advocate for things to change nationally for families either, but really all of our dollars stay local. And so when people donate to us, they can know that it's going straight back into the community to help support families here. So that's one thing that I always have, and even before I worked with United Way, I wasn't quite sure how that necessarily operated.
Right.
But that is, I think, an important thing for people to know. Like every dollar you're giving us is going to go right back into our community here locally, which is key to us making differences.
Right. One thing which I've always found to be an interesting paradox in nonprofit work is when you're really successful and your programs work extremely well, like you guys have, right? How do you share those successes but also make it clear that there's still need? That we need more resources to keep going, to expand these programs. Like, you know what I mean? Because you guys are doing such amazing things. But if we can muster up more resources, the scale of that will only increase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, when you look at the need, right, we can achieve things. And one thing that we did, we supported and took a lead role in driving community around the Affordable Childcare Now, which is now called Raising Travis County Initiative, $75 million for supports in early childhood. That was monumental, and it's going to really shift how families are able to get the support that they need in early childhood. There are lots of people that are still not able to unlock all of that based on income requirements and eligibility. There's people that are still, like I was mentioning, the ALICE population that still can't afford childcare, that might not be as eligible for affordable child or for Raising Travis County dollars. So we still have a need that needs to be met in all sorts of ways. We talked about, even if our goal is 70% of children are kindergarten ready, there's still 30% of children that might not be there, right? And so it's going to continue to increase. 70% of families needing to be at that income level. That still means there's a threshold that we need to achieve. But it takes bringing community together to change the system, because that's ultimately how those numbers are going to change. We need to drive more public dollars to education. We need to drive more energy around supporting families during that benefits cliff period so that we can catch more families who are living in low income. Right now, 25% of families are living in that ALICE threshold. That's hundreds of thousands of people that are not able to thrive. And so it's going to take big shifts in how our system operates at the local level, at the state level, nationally.
Right.
And so we have to continue to bring people under the tent, evangelize that work and why it's so important, because the needs are so high,
Right.
but the impact of what we're doing is immeasurable. And so if we can start affecting change for 10 to 15,000 people here, 10 to 15,000 kids there, that's going to just start snowballing. And I think the goal is, 20, 30 years from now, when kids are more kindergarten ready, they're achieving post-secondary success, education success, or trade school success.
Right.
They're able to support their families with their own income. That's less reliance on public benefits that we are hoping to affect change in. And so it might not be today, right? Some of the systems change work can feel like it's 100 years from now. But
100%.
when you start chipping away at it, you can start and getting people involved, then you can start seeing the results happening.
Yeah, well, I totally get it. I think it's hard sometimes when you have goals that seem so far away, and you have to keep pushing just a small bit towards there. One thing which you said a couple of times, you talked about the importance of setting a realistic goal, or like setting a goal, like, how do we set a goal for ourselves or an expectation for ourselves that's achievable? And it's really interesting to me, right? Because if the target's 70%, you could make the target 100%, right? Obviously, that's the dream. But the problem with that is that it's going to be a while, right? So one thing that I noted very tactically is, like, if you set the target at 70%, there's still a lot more work to do, right? But you can get organizationally, you can meet that goal. It sets something realistic. And that's one thing I really appreciate about that I kind of feel between the lines of a lot of what you're saying is, like, the question is not how can we make the perfect world, it's just how can we make the world 1% better? How can we make Austin 1% better? And, there are many stories where, and I feel really passionately about this, there are many stories I remember of people who have been fortunate and blessed enough to have the resources to make decisions and all these kinds of things. And they devote time to trying to make the world perfect. And as a result, they missed out on trying to make the world better. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, how do we get to the next step?
Right.
Can we keep pushing it further down the line? And that's one thing I really appreciate about your vision and the organization's vision as a whole is we're trying to accomplish realistic goals. We're going to get to 70%. It's just a matter of time. And then from there, why can't we get to 80? Right. Why can't we get to 90? And then, when we're all old and gray, hopefully, or, hey, hopefully we get to hit it before then, but you never know. Is 100% in the future. Right. I want to be respectful of your time, so I have one last question for you. For people who want to learn more about United Way and find ways to get engaged or to give, what's a good way for them to learn more?
The easiest way is visiting our website, unitedwayatx.org.
Right.
And they can find ways to advocate, volunteer, donate.
Right.
One of the things that we're trying to build out, as I mentioned, was our advocacy work. We need people who are willing to talk to policymakers and say, this is why this is important. This is the work that's happening is important. And so people can, get involved in that way. We have volunteer opportunities throughout the year where people can get involved, and it's really meaningful because they get to see their work in action. And obviously, anytime people can donate and invest in our work, then it really gets compounded. We've recently talked about some research that we've done within our programming. For every $1 that is invested in United Way, we can expect $3 in return.
Incredible.
And so when you're giving to United Way, it's really getting compounded within our partners, within the work that we're doing, and community good and benefits. So it's really a wise decision to donate to United Way because we really will put those dollars in a way that can be compounded in immeasurable ways. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate it.
You know, and to kind of close off, so when you support organizations like United Way, and there are very few of them because you guys have such a long history and a track record of your contribution, you know, and so it's very hard to go or to last for 100 years, let alone 20. When you support organizations like you guys, you're investing in the community. It's not just like it's like spending $1. It's an investment in the future of better Austin. Do you love Austin? Do you love Williamson County? Do you love this region? Great. You know what I mean? This is how you invest in making this community better for the future. Do you love, and if you want that for yourself, I always advocate for this. It's like we don't need people to be less selfish. We need them to be wiser about their selfishness, because a really selfish person will go out and make their community as great as possible, because then their quality of life will hit the roof. Thank you so much for your time.